Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 488. My name is John Morgan, and cold coffee is with me as we ease back into normal life after a couple days of staycation, kicking it at the Fontainebleau. I was living in lap of luxury, cold coffee. I'm talking about I had to depart the beautiful blue carpeted, gold and white walled facility that is the
Do they all line up by the door and just say, goodbye, Mr. Morgan.
Mr. Morgan.
We'll see you again, Mr. Morgan.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, they're closer doing that than you think, because it is not busy over there, man. It's Fontainebleau. If you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, this is the newest property in Vegas. It just opened like last December, I think, like right around New Year's Eve.
But it was under construction for 58 years.
Yeah, 58 to stretch, but it was like 15 years. Like you probably saw it and not ever even knew it, because it was this huge. It's one of the biggest buildings in all of Las Vegas, right? And
if you've been in Vegas, where like the last 15 years, it was that building that looked like it had windows out or whatever.
The one that had like missing windows and stuff. Yeah, the big blue shaded window. So yeah, it sat there for like 15 years because they went bankrupt while they were trying to develop it. And it just sat there empty. And then somebody came in and bought it for pennies on the dollar and was like, hey, we're going to go ahead and finish this thing out. And I'm telling you, man, it is absolutely gorgeous. Like, it is literally, I think, honestly, the most beautiful property on the Strip right now. But they priced it very, very, very aggressively from the start, and they're struggling to fill it. Like, so it's these high rates, and I get it. They're positioning themselves as like the premier destination, like you want the highest level of luxury. Here's where you come, which is fine. But they have like 5,000 rooms. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a hotel that has like 100 rooms or something, like, okay, position yourself as ultra premium and only
like
the best
boutique,
of the best.
Like a special boutique hotel.
Exactly. But this is a massive, massive. But I'm telling you, it's gorgeous. So if you're interested at all in checking it out, just walk through it. But I will say it doesn't have like that crazy Las Vegas vibe, because it's just not super busy, but it is absolutely gorgeous. So if you're in town and you're looking for a place to get a drink, you're looking for just, let me go check out some luxurious, nice new place, you should check it out. But if you are thinking about checking it out and you want to like stay there, sign up to their mailing list. Go to their website and sign up to the mailing list. So my wife and kid and I, my kid's going back to school in 2 weeks, which is why we did this. So we wanted to have like one little last staycation, one little, couple days at the pool and hang out and that sort of thing. But they had a deal that was closing at the end of the month, which today is July 31st, right? So this was the last week you could do it. But for locals, it was $125 a night with no resort fee whatsoever. So for 2 nights, I was paying like $270 total, like with taxes and everything. So I mean, to stay in like the nicest hotel in town for 2 nights, and I will say this, didn't spend a lot of money eating there because it is expensive. We went downtown to Pizza Rock one day. We got around a little bit, but I will say that is an absolutely gorgeous property.
Did you see any of the people? I remember when they just opened up, they had the people that were going through with the sticks with the tennis ball, erasing the scuffs on the ground.
They have fixed that. You're so right.
I don't know what they down or something?
No, I don't know if they put like a chemical treatment, because you're so right. That might have been the funniest thing at the opening.
Yeah.
So this it's got like white marble floors, and so when it first opened up, your tennis shoes or whatever, just walking would scuff the marble, and so they had to have people walking around.
There had to be somebody that stood up to the side. Every time somebody walked and you hear a squeak, he was like, oh.
There were literally people that their whole job, the whole day, every day, was just walk around with a tennis ball on the end of the stick and rub that little piece of
the scuffs
But
out.
I don't know what they did. I don't know what they treated it with or whatever, but it no longer scuffs like that.
They put an extra $10 million to fix whatever that was. They're like, guys, this was a great idea, I think, to put the marble, but practicality maybe not so much.
So hilarious, man. But anyway, so it was good. So came straight from there. The last staycation of the summer. My kid's going back to school, starting 7th grade in a couple of weeks.
He had a good run. He just got back from Mexico and then straight to staycation.
I'm like, bro, you got the life.
He's not spoiled at all.
He knows it, by the way. I was like, I want to make sure you know your life is not normal and that you are spoiled. And that it's okay to be spoiled if you recognize you're spoiled. Yeah. But understand, this is not the way most people have it.
That's right. And once you start acting all high and mighty, that's when Pops is going to smack you down.
He knows. He knows that. I don't want to hear none of that.
He's done jiu-jitsu. He might take you.
I mean,
you get one hit in on him.
I get one, and he breaks my arm.
He's like, I'll give you one, then I'm taking that arm, son.
He knows. But he actually, we were walking in the parking garage, actually, and he held the door open for a lady and her 2 daughters, whatever. And the lady was like, that is really nice of you. Like, most people won't do that. Like, I teach him that.
Yeah.
You know, all the
That's
little
cool.
things. We got
That's
that little
good.
Southern gentleman thing going on. You know what I mean? So we're trying, but
That's cool.
yeah, it's cool. So
He's getting older. I noticed that when I see the pictures, because for a while there he was doing the different dyed hair and
Yeah,
everything. It's all like the one color now. I was like,
Yep.
uh-oh. I was like, I don't know if that's the end of that now, or
he asked to dye it back to like his normal hair color, so it's just
so
like
he's not
brown
going to do
now.
multicolored anymore.
He doesn't want to do the colors right now.
What
He's
grade is he
like,
going into?
He's going into 7th grade.
Okay.
7th grade. So we'll
that's,
see.
That's girls.
Yeah.
He's getting at that age
Oh,
where
yeah.
he's like,
Gotta look a certain way. Gotta look a certain way. Still got the long hair for now. He wants the long hair.
Yeah.
But he wants to do normal color. So.
That's cool.
It was fun. We had a good time. It was a good little family time. Like I said, right.
Thank you
before
again,
we went to
Mr. Morgan. We hope to see you again next month.
I'm telling you, they're closer to that than you think. they could do that if they wanted to. But it's sad because it's gorgeous in there.
Yeah.
But man, let me tell you how expensive it is. This is how expensive it is. So my wife and kid, they love to hang out at the pool all day, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'll go to the pool for a little bit, but like I'm not chilling out there. They'll stay out there for like 6-7 hours. I'm like,
Yeah.
my brain won't
Do
shut
they get a
off that
cabana or
long.
they just sit at the pool?
Just to the pool. I
Yeah.
told them next year, I was like, you know what, next year we'll get a cabana and do it up
That's
since you guys like
just
to go out there.
That's crazy expensive.
It is
too.
crazy expensive. So that's why I was like, oh, we'll do that next year.
Yeah.
Because they do literally like to now, but
Yeah.
now that y'all like to stay this long, I was like,
If you're going to be
stay
there that long, yeah.
I was like,
probably
we'll-
makes sense.
I was like, we'll find a cabana. And like I said, by the way, I always shop around. So when we talk about doing these fun experiences, like I said, I only went there because we got the deal or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they're by the pool, and I was like, you know what? I appreciate it. I was like, I got to go get some work done. I was like, I got a couple things. I'm going to get a couple hours of computer work done so I can just get caught up on some things. I got some CFFC stuff going on, working with the World MMA Awards this year.
Oh, look at that.
So, yeah, so I'm doing some different things there. So,
Are you going to be a write-in for one of the positions now that you're working with them?
Well, you know, I'm actually talking about that. We'll figure that out later. I'm actually, because I'm working with them, like right now, I'm actually soliciting people to get like nominations, like peer nominations for like journalists and media source. And I'm not telling anybody don't put my name, but it feels really weird. Like, so I'm like, it's completely confidential, but like, so I think I'm just gonna have to bow out, to be honest with you. But this would be the last year that I'd ever be like eligible anyway. Like, I'm not doing much.
I mean, because you've almost switched fully into like you'd be a different category.
100%. I mean, I'm doing like commentary and exec now these days. I'm still going to do interviews. I'm still going to do. I'm still going to take part in press conferences, medias, but it's not my full time job. So
watch out, Anik.
If it's not my full time job, I can't be one of the 5 best in the industry. You know what I mean? So like, totally understand. So this will probably be the last year I'd be eligible anyway. But anyway, so I was working on that stuff, and yeah, shout out to Rob Hewitt with the Fighters Only Awards. I was in conversation with him, and we were talking about some things, etc. But anyway. So my wife texted me. She's like, "Hey, she's like, Eli wants a little bit of food, and like, I'm gonna get a drink." She's like, "Should I use my credit card, or like, can I just charge it to the room?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they've got our room on file. Like, just put it on there." I was like, "It's fine. Just put it on the room."
Without even saying like, "Hey, double check prices first."
Bro,
I'm afraid about what I'm gonna hear.
Bro, now it was a big pina colada, like think like a sports bottle pina colada almost.
Okay.
Not like
20-some ounce, 30-some
yeah,
ounce,
not like
maybe?
ridiculous like strip size 4
3 foot, 4 foot.
No,
one.
I'm not talking about that, but just like a nice like sport bottle type pina colada for her, a bottle of water for him, and chicken tenders, which by the way, he did say the chicken tenders were very, very good. He said some of the best chicken tenders I've ever had. With gratuity, $84.
That's fucking crazy.
A drink, a bottle of water, and chicken tenders.
That's crazy, dude.
And see, that to me, I mean, like I said, I love the
that's
property.
That's a whole nother night. That's almost what you paid for a night.
Insane.
That's crazy.
It's insane. I think they got to take a look at that.
But I mean, that's honestly, that's strip properties.
It is.
I stopped by the stadium swim the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and one I think that was a 16-ounce can of beer was $10, and they had some other stuff there. I was like, how can people afford to go down there? Like, it's just
what a beautiful
insane.
facility that is, though, right?
Boy,
if you're there, another property off the strip but downtown, Circa.
If
you ever want someplace, the only downside is if you're a family, you cannot go in there if you're under 21 years old. Like, kids are not allowed in there. It's the only property where they check your ID at the door.
Yeah.
And I've seen people get mad at that when they're walking in because, they're like, why are you carding me? We don't get carded in Vegas. But it's like, you literally can't be under 21 and walk in. So if you're a family, you can't put it on your list. But if you're not a family and you can go, that stadium swim, if you're looking for a place to watch a game or a fight or hang out, like,
the fight,
unbelievable.
So if you're a guest there, I'm not sure what they charge on that, but you could just go off the street and watch the fight. For that night, there was a pay-per-view. It was $40.
Right.
And like, so what that allows you in, then there's chairs that you can get, but it's general admission for the most part. So like, there's only certain seats you could sit at, first come, first serve. But they put the darn audio on up there if you want to
Yep.
hop in the pool. Like they put the big screen and they show it, and like, it was pretty impressive. And I was like, holy cow! I was like, for $40, that's not the cheapest, but it's not the worst either. And
It's a hell of a unique experience.
it's a very unique experience.
To hang out in a pool and see it on more than a movie theater size screen.
Yeah.
Like it's like big screen doesn't even do it justice. Like it
yeah,
is
it's
insane.
huge. It's huge.
Yeah, it's be like calling the Sphere like it's a nice round screen. Like, bro, like
It's a little more than that.
it's a little different than that.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, but even seeing the prices down there, it's like you want to go experience. It's cool to get out and see it every once in a while, but you have to go with the realization that it's not like normal prices.
Yeah, you got to shop.
Yeah.
You got to shop. We only that was the only meal we had on property there. We went since we were downtown or close that way. Went to Pizza Rock downtown, which I love Pizza Rock, man. Great food and just a cool vibe.
Yeah.
Eli actually wanted one time to go. We got some Whataburger one night because
cool.
they got the one that they opened up on the Strip,
Yeah.
and being the Texans that we are, he liked that. So
There you go.
we got to, and we did a little Siegel's Bagel Mania over there, a little breakfast spot next to the.
I haven't had that.
Highly recommended. It was. I'd only had their food before, and I'll be a shout out to Lauren Mack. Actually, Lauren Mack of PFL is a big proponent of the Siegel's Bagel Mania. It's right next to the convention center, but he would always bring that to like media meals and stuff like that. But I'd never actually been there. Holy cow, this place is super cool.
Interesting.
If you're looking for a breakfast spot that's not crazy priced, that's super cool, great food, check it out.
But down by the Fremont area.
It's right by the convention center. It's right
Oh,
next
right
to
by
the
the
convention center.
convention.
So
Okay.
really kind of like right across from Resorts World, like just on
Yep.
the east side, like between that and the convention center. I'm telling you right now, put it on your breakfast list. It's dope. So
There you go.
anyway, staycation over. There's my details. There's your little Vegas insight. I saw you got out the little old school NSAC meeting video.
I know, right? Like it had been a while, and Nolan King was kind of, he's now our legal beat guy on a lot of that sort of stuff. He's been bugging me, like, He's like, are you gonna try to get down to the meeting? And I've been trying to get down there. Sometimes, again, like this one, is it worth it? Probably not, but it's an easy lift to just get down there. Like there was nobody there, and it was good to see the commission people. I hadn't seen. It's just good to show your face so
Yes.
that when you actually go for other meetings, they're like, oh, okay. And they kind of let you in the room. They don't give you much whatever. But, yeah, I went down there to just kind of get it because we had heard that, and maybe it was you that told me, Khalil showed up the week before or maybe that was
The month before. Yep.
month before without even needing it. So I thought there was a possibility he might show up for this one, but really it was a lot of more formalities, the ones that happened. It was just they approved the extensions, and so it's like they're going to deal with it again on the August 27th. So we didn't learn too much crazy extra stuff. I did hear it kind of even when Diego Lopez had jumped over 2,500 was the amount that they initially held. I thought at first it was like a percentage or whatever. So Myra jumps over. She had 100,000 purse. 2,500 was again. So it kind of seems like we're starting to see sort of a precedent
Like
of
a
what
flat
they're
dollar
going to
figure.
sort of a flat fee of what they're sort of holding on to. Whether that maintains or not, maybe the intention would change that. Like if you're jumping over the fence because you want to attack somebody, maybe 2,500 isn't going to be the amount that they throw at you.
If it's just to jump over and celebrate, that's one thing.
That's
if it's
another
jumping
thing.
over because you're chasing after somebody,
So while I think 2,500 seems to be that initial, because I think every time we see these guys, they talk about, prior occasions when things happen. What's the precedent? So I think it started to seem where 2,500 is that precedent. So, but it was unique to sort of hear that they're going to bring that up again on the next meeting, the 27th. I did hear them after the thing talking a little bit about Khalil's situation. They definitely were sympathetic. Foban, he was talking about how Khalil's suing I believe has a lawsuit against the pharmaceutical company or whatever, the product company. And I haven't really been paying attention, so that was news to me.
But that's huge. That when you talk about somebody's innocent or guilty, you know what I mean, or like what you think, when they're taking the time to go sue the company, that tells that again that you can't use that as your sole determining factor.
Yeah.
But that's somebody that knows,
Yeah.
I got wronged here, and we're going to make this right.
It was nice. It was nice to hear them. Like they were very sympathetic to his case, and even to the point that like he was very forthcoming. I definitely, the guy came out before he even needed to saying all the right things, and flagged what he thought was an issue, and then he started addressing it and stuff. So it was just good to see that. I think a lot of times when we think about the commission, we think about them being this punish instead of like really thinking about about mistakes and accidents actually happen. So it was nice to just hear them sort of understand that Khalil's going through something that wasn't his own doing, and kind of being sympathetic. It just felt good hearing that. Granted, it was after the meeting. It wasn't like they're going to go on record and have that be in the minutes, but it was cool being in the room to actually hear that the thing was happening after the fact.
I love the fact that you went and did it, and I hope that your employers are supportive of you doing it, because
hopefully.
I know it's not always going to be the biggest views, you know what I mean? And I know at the end of the day, like, look, it would be wrong to say that, like, oh, MMA Junkie is just about clicks and page views. But it's like anything. Like we say the UFC is just about pay-per-views and profits. Yeah, it's a business. MMA Junkie is a journalistic outlet, but at the same time, there's bills. So it is about clicks and views. So if it's not getting clicks and views, you're probably not going to get supported going. But I hope they'll continue to support you going, because I do that, like exactly what you're saying. Number one, I think it's, letting the public see what the process is. You know what I mean? Let them see how it's handled.
What seems like it's behind closed doors. Yeah, and it's not really.
Not actually closed behind closed doors. Just nobody
open. Nobody goes.
Just nobody goes.
I was the only person in the room.
Yeah. So I love that. And look, and I think it's good for and this. I think about, we were talking about this whole PSA announcement, right?
Yeah.
And we were like, man, I know we've seen people get told that before. Did they ever produce it?
Yeah.
Boy, if we had record and videos of, like, we can go back and, no, I remember when they were in, because there are, we used to film more than we used to, but now you can actually go back.
Yep.
Those meetings, and I know there are minutes and there's public records and there's all, but nobody's going to take the time to go through all that. But if that stuff was sitting in a YouTube channel,
how can you know for sure whether the right minutes and the minutes weren't in there? The minutes get brought up every time as part of the opening minutes. The part of the procedure. Right. You don't really think about, but they have a point where they have to approve the minutes, or if there's any additions, or if there's been any errors or corrections.
And are you telling me the person that says I and the person that says you telling me that they actually went and reviewed every minute? I actually listened to it, and I went line by line.
I had my computer just transcribed.
By the way, on line 37, you said that the word was "than" at that moment. If you could you
fix this? Can you fix this?
Yeah.
But it is good in the sense of, like, if we're there, we could actually help kind of make sure that the process is actually really as legit as they said it is. But I do want to try to, I am going to try to, I put it in my mental calendar that if I just make that effort to go over there, and the employer seems into it. I know that Nolan was really pushing and was like, hey, if Kenny can do more of those, I think it would be good. And it's funny, like our good friend Donna over at the UFC, she's over in Abu Dhabi. She hit me up. She's like, hey, I was trying to get to your guys' side. I saw that you went to the NSEC. She's like, but I think she was getting geo-blocked. I was like, what, did you go to the YouTube? So I sent her the YouTube. But there's interest.
Yeah.
There's interest because I know
people can follow along.
She was all about Myra. She was like, Myra doesn't speak English. I was so mad when they're yelling at him. I was like, she does speak some English, but I was like, I'm not going to correct her.
Yeah, but not much.
But not enough. But she wanted to hear what they had to say about the Myra section. So there are people that are interested in this stuff 100%. As much as it is sort of like, oh, hey, it's just an extending it. We're going to hear it until next time. But they did talk a little bit about it. But people want to do that. So, I'm going to try to get over there and do more. It's funny, the security guard that was in the ground couldn't be more nonplussed about his job. I walk in, I was like, commission on the fourth floor, and he's like, and just sort of points at the elevator. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I go upstairs. When I'm leaving, I always make the mistake, when you're going down, you have to hit floor 2 as opposed to 1 to get to the street entrance. I always mess up. I go to 1 and I end up in this bottom floor, and I always get lost. I did it again. I was like, don't walk around, just go back up. So I get up out of the elevator. It's like, I always make that mistake going down to 1. He's like, I was like, all right, well, hey, have a good day. I was like, this dude hates his job. This old dude just hates his job. I was like, I'm glad you're the face that's representing. As soon as somebody comes into this government office, I'm glad you're the person that they see.
My guy's just trying to get his 20 years and get his pension.
Yeah. It was interesting, but no, I'm gonna. I do want to go over there, but it was. I
know
nice.
It wasn't the most exciting meeting, but but I just when I saw that you did it, I was like, man, I'm glad he's doing that, because I wish somebody would do. I think it's important transparency for the record. Honestly, I think it's important for, like, people that maybe at some point have to go through the process to at least see what it looks like, see what it feels like. No, you know what I mean?
Like, it's not as scary as what it maybe seems and stuff. But it was interesting because when I first came in there, I think they were even surprised because there would have been maybe the floor reporter or one of the ones that keeps the minutes or whatever. She's like, because the legal guy was already there, the deputy attorney general, he was sitting in his seat, and then the two ladies off the side that helped run the meeting. And she's like, if you don't mind, she's like, which part are you here to cover? And I was like, oh, the Myra Brandon Silva, the Khalil Round. She's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. We got this weird call of some guy earlier asking about something that had nothing to do with this meeting, and I didn't know if maybe you were coming in with that or something. I was like, no, but I was like, I have no problem with you asking or whatever. I think they were just a little surprised that because here I come with full gear, camera, and everything. They're just like, well, this is different.
This very often.
Yeah. So hopefully, I'm gonna try to do it more for the future. And like you said, it's something unique. It's something that it makes sense to cover it, and it is something unique. It's something different. I do love shooting, so while it's not the most exciting material, some stuff it is material that makes sense and that is very, very relevant. A lot of that's behind the scenes stuff that just kind of a lot of times gets glossed over until finally a reporter writes something about it, and then we read about it. So
I love it. It makes it easier for anybody else that wants to write about it, that wants to cover it, that they can see it all. So cool stuff, man. All right, well, listen, I guess a couple big stories. I mean, the antitrust case is a big story. It's still far from over, and I hesitate to go too far into it because, as we talked, along the way, I mean, there's guys like John Nash, there's guys like Eric McGracken who are legal experts, antitrust experts, and have delved into this. But as it stands right now, the Judge Boulware has denied the settlement that was reached and is pushing for this thing to go to trial. You and I talked about when this first thing got denied that I was a little bit concerned because I'm not sure what the motivation is right now for the plaintiffs and the to continue this thing. I think they really want to sell. And actually,
did he have to go on record to say why he?
Not yet.
Yeah, because that's the part where it's like
that's the part where we get to. That still has to happen within the next week or two. He has to file and fully explains the issues why that he denied the settlement. It basically, from what it on the outside looking in, it seems to be A, he feels like the fighters deserve more money, and B, he feels like the contract structure of the UFC moving forward needs to change a little bit, or if it doesn't, then what have we really accomplished by going through? Like if we're saying that there was some wrong done and we need to give you some money to make up for that, but we don't make true structural changes into how things happen moving forward, then aren't we just saying that you're going to repeat the same process? And so I think that's kind of where it lays. But I'll tell you what,
because just like we said about precedent too, like a case like this is something that's going to get referred to for future. So you want it
outside of this.
Yeah, you want it done right. So that's interesting because you want to hear this guy's point because I guess maybe it's a double-edged sword. Like this guy's going out there and saying this needs to be better because we're saying this. But if there's some other reason why he didn't, and you have plaintiffs that agreed yes, and that were good. Defendants said yes, we're good, and then the judge's like, no, it's not good enough for me. Isn't there a possibility that coming back on the judge?
I think
right?
so. Like what if they go to trial and in the trial they determine you know what? There was no wrongdoing here.
Could that even be a possibility?
I don't think so. I think they would. I think they would settle regardless. But so Eric Kramer, who's one of the lead attorneys on this case, actually came out with a statement today. I saw this on John Nash's Twitter actually when I was driving home earlier. I wasn't driving. I was at a stoplight, which I probably shouldn't even be looking at Twitter while I'm at a stoplight. Okay, I just admitted I have my phone.
Yeah, got their phone.
You know what? Forget about that. I was at a desk.
Las Vegas Metro. This is a parody. This
is a comedy show.
It's a comedy show.
It's prop weed. It's Hollywood. It's Hollywood.
This is just a skit.
It's movie weed.
This is purely a skit.
All right. So, but the statement comes out. It says, "Listen, we're going to be preparing for the trials coming forward. We know that the trial is coming up, and so we're going to be ramping up our preparations. We're going to be ready for this trial." He's on Eric Kramer, the plaintiff side, so the fighter's side, right?
Fighters.
Yeah. So he's saying, look, man, we're ramping up our preparations. We're getting ready for a trial. This is going to be great. And then we think what we'll do is we'll settle the first one, and then we'll move on to the next. We're ready. Like we're digging in, guys. We're going through the case files
settle
now.
The first one, move on. Break it
because there's the two cases.
So break it apart.
Yes, they want it. Yeah, exactly.
They were kind of combined it. Yeah,
now they want to break it apart again. So he's like,
interesting.
We're getting our strategies together. We're getting our ducks in a row over here. I got my troops lined up. We're ready to go. He's like. However,
but
he's like, plaintiffs, if a new settlement becomes a possibility, it says then we make an attempt to resolve the two cases separately, focusing first on the league, given its imminent trial date. So they want to try to settle that one and then settle the other one. So it says, thus, while plaintiffs' focus will be on preparing for trial, we are keeping an open mind with respect to a potential new resolution. At root, plaintiffs want nothing more and nothing less than justice for the professional MMA fighters we have represented for more than 10 years. So it's like, yo, we're about to go to war.
Yeah.
But
and in the meantime, our legal bill will go up.
And that's the thing. And that was and I think it was Nate Quarry that put out the statement that was like, listen, I know there's a lot of you guys that are sad that we're settling, but there are people that need this money right now.
Yeah.
Bad. It's taken a decade, and we don't know that this thing's over yet. Now, if this thing goes to trial, I mean, I can't imagine – I don't know how long it goes. I mean, I can't imagine the trial itself would be a years-long process. Yeah. I imagine that's a weeks-long process. But then you have appeals, and you know what I mean? And so who knows when this thing can happen? And that was one of the things Nate Quarry said. Is like, look, man, we want to settle this thing because we want to get this money. While it may not be all the money that we thought we could get, it is valuable money to a lot of these people. And you and I talked about that, right? Whether it be to erase debt, whether it be to start a business.
I know
whether
Conor
it be,
needs it.
Conor is hurting. I mean, that's just – I mean, the fact that it goes like in large chunks to those people, yeah, right? I mean, you know, Ronda and Brock are sitting around going right now like –
they're struggling.
I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills this month.
How am I going to pay for this fourth mortgage? You know, the fourth house I have. Now, is the breakup between the two, was it the years of the claimants filed?
Exactly.
So it's the initial ones that have been really sitting over there waiting forever.
Exactly.
And then you had the newer group that sort of hopped on after.
Which is the Kung Lee versus the Cajun Johnson group. So
gotcha.
Anyway, I guess it's worth monitoring. It's not the sexiest story. It's not going to get the most clicks. It's not going to get the most headlines. And here's the other thing, too. I'm kind of interested to see, I mean, resolution is good, and if we can get some money in the hands of fighters, that's good. I'm not so sure that just fighters being free agents more often is really going to change the look of the sport that much, but we'll see. I mean, obviously competition, we talk about the importance of competition. It matters in terms of compensation. Like, you need to if you have two bidders for your services, your income immediately goes up because now you get to pick the highest bidder. So that is helpful. I don't know that it'll change the whole look of the sport. Like, I don't know that the UFC is going to lose its market dominance even with these changes in contractual structure. I feel like the brand is bigger than most of the athletes, to be honest, and most of the athletes want to compete for the UFC. So there's that, but you know, that's down the road, and that's what we'll see what the ripple effect is and the long-term effect. But just something worth keeping an eye on because, yeah, I see a lot of people that are like, this is awesome for the fighters. And it may be, again, I'll throw the caveat, I'm not a legal expert, but the same thing that you have, I just had that same concern. Like, does this backfire? Like, is there any way it doesn't get better? Like, is there a way it gets worse? Like, what if they go to trial and on trial they decide, no, my bad, there was no wrongdoing here. Like, nah.
Yeah, because if it goes to peers, like whatever happens. Like, what if the jury says, we don't think there was anything wrong done?
Everything's good here. I think we're fine. And then the UFC is like, hey, this has been fun, and I'm glad we got to spend the last 10 years like working with each other.
Yeah.
Here's a legal bill for us, please. I know you were looking for money, and we're sorry you didn't get what you were looking for. You had to try, right? You had to try. But I get it. No, hey, no hard feelings. No hard feelings. We'll work out payment arrangements with you. Here's about $10 million worth of legal fees, or more than that. You know, it's like, and you know, let us know. Like, we can set a really low interest rate on it. I mean, really low interest. How sickening
would that be?
That'd be sickening. You know, you would hope at that point, if that does happen, and I'm not saying it will, if it does happen, you would hope the UFC would just be
just
hey,
agree to go with the whatever the first plea deal was or the first agreement was.
Oh, see, I just meant that just don't come after him for legal fees.
Oh, just come after him? Yeah.
That, you know what? That would be. I mean, that would be a very nice gesture to say. You know what? Listen,
on their part.
We see that this was. We actually did feel comfortable with that settlement, and while we're under no legal obligation whatsoever to honor that settlement, we believe it's the right thing in the interest of the athletes involved. We're going to honor that settlement. Yeah, I was just going to go so far as to say, like, we're not coming after your ass. Like, what was it, the Ken Shamrock thing? He's like, I'm coming after it. You know what I mean? Like, so I would hope that they would not do that.
Oh, that'd be brutal.
Well, you talk about turning some people against the UFC.
Against the UFC, that'd be huge.
Yeah.
They'd be like, you screwed them for the 10, 15 plus years, and now you're really going after them.
That would be terrible.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
All right. So yeah, I guess the next big piece of information I definitely want to read from that is Judge Boulware's exact lining out of what he expects for something to get done. So I still think they'll find a way to settle, but we'll see. All right, listen, we got a big card this weekend, and we'll definitely talk about that because it's a really good card. But I guess I did want to get your thoughts real quick. Mohamed Mokaev, Nate Maness have kind of been in the headlines. Mohamed Mokaev especially, of course, but I've seen people talking about Nate Maness as well. The Mohamed Mokaev thing, I guess it's interesting because this thing has been huge. The UFC, as part of the rankings that I do in the panel, I was the first one to report that they sent out a note that was like, hey, we're not re-signing him, taking out of the rankings right away. That made the rounds, and a lot of people were upset about it. One thing I guess it is important to clarify, his contract was up, so they did not cut him.
They just choose to not re-sign him.
They choose not to re-sign him. And to believe it or not, and this has happened several times, believe it or not, them saying we're not going to re-sign you is actually the nicest thing they can do for the fighter, because they do have like exclusive negotiating periods, they have matching periods, they have all those things. And for them to say we're waiving all of that, go get what you want, it may seem like the most cold-hearted thing you can do, but it's actually the most beneficial to the athlete, because you're saying we are not going to spend one day holding you down from any potential new contract.
Go get that bag.
Go get that bag.
Go get that bag.
Go get that bag. Now, there was a report that was out there that
the rumors that he had been in talks with the PFL to see what his worth was.
And that's one of my buddies. I mean, you can't put out information like that. It's not true. It's definitely not true.
Yeah.
Completely untrue. It is it is a combination of two things. All the stuff that's happened behind the scenes, and you know as much.
They can't. I would think, because we talk about that in Spinning Back just recently. Like, they can't use. Granted, you're not going to hear Dana say we're not re-signing him because that water bottle incident in the back, all this stuff, starting to fight, sucker punching. Because on one end, they seem to love the drama.
Yeah.
So how do you penalize and say you're not going to re-sign somebody because of that? So it was almost like they didn't say that on the, for face value. They just said, go do your thing or whatever.
Well,
I wonder if that's why. Because when I thought about it, I was like, bro, you went way too far. The sucker punch by the door, whatever, that little fight, like, that was stupid. But then after weigh-ins, you're going again, you're throwing bottles, you're involving then staff. I was like, you're pushing it too far.
Well, that's why I wanted to get your take, because I think a lot of people just see the stuff that's on stage, right? And they go, oh, but we love that, it's fun. And you do. It's all that shit that happens at the hotel, where like the security team, the staff, all those people have to be involved in, and not to mention you're in a public place.
I was going to say at the hotel itself.
It's one thing if it happens at the PI, it's not good. But it's the PI. It's like, you get in a fight with your brother in your living room or whatever. It sucks, but it's not the same as you're out in Walmart or whatever and you start throwing down in there. Like, it's a whole different level. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people are saying what you're saying, but they're going, oh, it can't just be that stuff because we love that stuff. It's great stuff. No, it starts to grate on, especially when it's not one fight week. It's every fight week, right? It's every single time, and it's putting safety, it's putting health, it's putting people, and it's just a pain in the ass for everybody involved. And so that's a big part. So I think he went too far. Now, I would say this: if he went too far and he was undefeated with all knockouts, they might have put up with it.
They might have.
And that's it's the honest truth, and it may not be the convenient truth, but it's his fighting style alongside the antics. It's just like, it is weird, because I feel like Mokaev on his way up, and I'm high on Mokaev. I think he's still so young. He's still got great talent. Man, I feel like a lot of people would, like, every time the rankings would come out after a win and he would move up, you would see people just trashing the guy for his fighting style. Like, my God, this guy is boring. He's da-da-da-da. And then when they release him, then it's like, how could they release the guy? He deserves to be. So it's the two things together. But what I want to say, first, I guess I want to get your take on that. But what I also want to say is, if it was my organization, I'm not saying I would have made the same decision, right? But I get why they did. I mean, I think he's really talented, and you're supposed to have the best fighters on the planet. He's clearly one of the best fighters on the planet. Maybe not the most entertaining, and certainly one of the biggest pain in the asses behind the scenes, but he's clearly one of the best fighters on the planet, given his record. You're supposed to have those guys. I might have kept him. Might have. But I understand where they're coming from. But what I do like, and clearly this is Tim Simpson, his management team, getting with him, is he's handling things the right way afterwards.
In his statements, saying like he still hopes to get back to the UFC, blah, 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 blah.
And I think that is wise. I think and I'm assuming it's his manager, Tim Stenson,
Yeah.
got in his ear, and that is what is called expert management and guidance, because there is absolutely zero reason for you to burn a bridge right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He goes out there, continues his winning ways outside the organization, maybe doesn't prove, maybe does a PSA announcement or something that'll really but just keeps himself on the straight and narrow. I don't think that like his time in the UFC is definitely done forever. I just think they're like right now, between the headaches and not being the most exciting, we're done for now.
And you never know. I mean, maybe it's a matter of maybe in 6 months, maybe he doesn't even have to go to another place. Maybe it's just Dana and staff are just kind of pissed off right now, and this could be their hey, you got to come to Jesus moment. Maybe they're like, just sit back, think about what you did, and then without them actually saying this, sit back, think about what you did, and talk to us in 3-6 months. We could easily maybe not go that route. I think they understand that he's a quality fighter, but I mean,
we got to send a message.
We got to send a message, and even outside of it, I'm like, and you said it. If it was all knockouts, if this is a guy that's moving the needle, and people are like, I cannot wait to watch the next fight that guy's on. The diehards are saying, yes, this guy's a hell of a fighter. We have a hard time trying to pick his ranking. But our casuals, like, man, I can't wait till the next time.
Absolutely not.
It's not him.
And bro, if
it was, then maybe things would be different, like you said. I mean,
that fight was so bizarre too. I mean, you've got security literally holding them back from each other, and as soon as the security's out of the cage, it's like, let's feel dis. I mean, it was literally, it was that internet meme of the two dogs with a gate between them. You know what I mean? That's literally what it was, right? Like, and the gate moves, and they're just like, oh, I'm good.
It's just crazy. But I mean, I definitely think they want to send a message to him, like, this can't be done. I mean, I do feel with them not actually saying much about his antics is the UFC's way of sort of saying like, hey guys, I'm not going to penalize you for being human. It's a fight game. Like Dana likes to say, people say terrible shit. People do terrible things. Then they get in there and beat the shit out of each other. It'd be weird of them to say like, oh, that one bottle throw was just too much.
Right.
That was one way too much. But behind the scenes, maybe they are trying to say something like, if you're going to fight the way you were fighting, you don't get the extra leeway that like a Conor McGregor, that a Patty, that a Bobby, that a Jorge, the cats that do crazy shit, but then the fans absolutely are like, please give us more of them. If you were that way, maybe so, but maybe it's a matter of like, even if he doesn't go away, maybe they just need separation. Dana needs time away to remember why he got so pissed off at this kid. It was just interesting that when he said PFL, maybe that's what helped start speculation that was the potential reason. It's just weird that he said that. I mean, but again, there is no Bellator.
Yeah.
There is no other one to say, like, go to Bellator, go to blah, blah. He's never said go to one.
Right.
PFL is the only thing right now. He could have said maybe BKFC.
Right.
So I think that's what people were
like
jumping
people
on the
reading
fact
so
of, like,
far into that comment.
Right. But, like, what else is he going to say at that point?
Right.
Who else is there?
Yeah.
So, who knows? I mean, when I heard that, and then when I heard somebody try to reason and say, like, oh, it's because of this, I could see if that was true, that could cause all kinds of issues.
But you got to understand, too, these managers...
That would cause legal issues for the PFL.
100%. And I'm so glad you said that, because people need to understand, like, no one contract, unless you're signing Conor McGregor's lifetime contract, no one contract for you to sign as a manager is going to negate you from needing to continue to work in the space moving forward, right? Yeah. So, you can't have your trust and word broken, you know what I mean? Because that's terrible. If they're like, bro, what did you do? You went out and did that? Like, man, I'll never take you at your word again.
Yeah.
But there can also be legal ramifications as well. Tortious interference is the name of it. Now, let me... Do conversations happen where, you represent a fighter in the UFC and you happen to be at a PFL fight week and you're talking to the PFL brass and you're like, hey, just to throw it out there, my guy Mukaev, he's only got one fight coming up. We might be looking to talk to some people out there. You think that's a market you might be interested in? And they'll say back to you, obviously we would never say anything before the contract's up, but I mean, why would you not be excited about a guy like that in your contract? None of that is tortious interference. That's all just let me test the waters and feel a little bit like, are they even the least bit interested in my guy? Should we complete our contract and at least see what's out there, or are there no bidders? That's just called smart and working your connections. I'm saying. But if you're like, by the way, my guy's looking for a 6-fight deal. This is his current terms. That's why you always hear Scott Coker would talk about it. Hey, once he finishes his deal, we'd love to talk to them. You know what I mean? Hey, are you interested in so-and-so?
Yep.
Hey, once they're free and clear of that contract, absolutely. Nobody is going to do that. You know what I mean? Because especially nowadays, in the old days, maybe. 20 years ago, when this wasn't a multi-billion-dollar industry, would you go to somebody and be like,
with hundreds of lawyers on staff and retainers, just waiting for somebody to mess up?
Exactly. They will hold you up. They will hold you up for years. And again, you're screwing up. So when that got out there, I was like, there's no way that happened. And then I made some calls, and it didn't happen. And I hated it. I understand why people probably leaned into that because exactly what you said with Dana.
It made so much sense because it was just people want to inherently connect dots.
Right.
Because if you don't hear anything that says like, why are you letting this guy go? They're going to start looking for reasons.
Right.
You know. So, that being said, I was a little upset that we didn't get what we were talking about on the Sphere about how they were never going to announce headliners.
Oh,
and then they came. I was like, bro, we're so close. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
And then they announced the whole card.
And then they announced the most non-Mexican headline fight ever. Besides Georgia Mexican. Rob, Georgia Mexican.
You leave Mexican Marab alone. He's from the motherland.
I don't mind him because I think it's an incredible fight. But I know some people are like, Danny Segura is so fired up.
Is he really?
And the most recent thing, he's like, this is just despicable. Like, they're not even. You could have had Diego Lopez. You could have had blah 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 on there. I'm like, I get it,
Still
but I
sell pay-per-views.
It's still got to sell. It's still UFC 306. Yeah. I know everybody's calling it UFC Noche.
It was a fight night last time. Don't forget, last time it was a fight night. It had a title fight on, but it was a fight night.
True.
This is a pay-per-view. Still got to sell pay-per-views.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
You're not going to sell pay-per-views with Diego Lopez in a headliner. God bless him. Guy's exciting.
Now, I'm going to ask you this. Maybe, because I know Dana came out and was pissed off at MGM. Did this whole thing about the Sphere happen just because he couldn't get T-Mobile?
No.
Then why is Dana so pissy?
It is weird. I was actually surprised about hearing that there's been rifts. I mean, we knew there were rifts and stuff from time to time, but there's
from time to time. But this is a major partner that you're using. Like, you're not. It's not like you're not going to go back to the T-Mobile. You need the MGM.
Yeah.
And just for him to go all at him, I'm like, it just made me think. I was like, I know he wanted to use the Sphere, but when they came up that there was this event that was happening, I'm like, is that the whole driving force behind them?
He went Sphere first.
I thought so.
And then they came back with T-Mobile for boxing. And I think maybe
why is he even pissy about that then?
I can just see him saying, "Look, I mean, you cannot blame MGM. From Dana's perspective,
you're not using our venue. We're going to put something in the venue."
That's it. From Dana's perspective, I can see it as like
last one as well, but it was just elsewhere.
It was at MGM, right? Last time,
somewhere, but they fought on Mexican weekend. I think, or when they were trying, did they do it the weekend
that's
after?
Right. That's the weekend after.
That's
right. They changed the day. So I could see Dana saying, "Listen, we're partners in this. I'm an anchor tenant of your building. I have permanent signage in your building. Like, we do 4 events a year. I'm doing this one-off at the Sphere, but you know how much I'm investing in it. Yeah, I'm doing it in town. And here you are. You're going to bring these boxers in behind my back.
Do you know how much of the Saudis are investing in this?
Yeah. So I think if I'm just reading the room and knowing, I'm sure Dana looks at that as like, why are these guys going to compete with me? We're supposed to be business partners, and they're going to compete with me on my night. But from their perspective, they're like, Dana, we really like doing business with you, but that's a prime Saturday night, and you're asking us to keep it empty just so you don't have to? Like
maybe if they can say, well, Dana, there was no musical act. Like, if a musical act wanted the night, maybe they'd say.
But they would have never looked because you know how it works, right? Like, guarantee the UFC had a temporary hold on it. Like, the UFC definitely gets first rights of what 4 dates do you want. And they have it. Like, right now, they already have their 4 dates for 2025. And there's tour managers.
Could be even 2026 at this point.
There's tour managers There's tour managers that are putting together their musical acts, where they're going. Yep. And they know, I mean, we're going to be around the Southwest area, around, Mexican Independence Day, but we know that's a Combat Sports weekend, and T-Mobile we usually do UFC, then, okay, we'll skip that. You don't just bring in a 18,000-seat headliner on a couple weeks' notice, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, if that's what it is, and that's just what it seems to be, I do understand Dana's point of view, but I don't think you can really be mad at the MGM for filling their empty building on the night you're in town. Yeah,
because at the end of the day, they want to do business. And granted, it's not another MMA. Yes, it's combat sports. Yes, it's Canelo. But I see where if he's worried about that the MGM's going to take all the Mexican fighter fans, and they're all going to go there because they don't want to pay your $3,000, $5,000 tickets. Well, Dana, they're probably not going to pay that anyways.
I was going to say, anybody that's buying a ticket to T-Mobile is not buying.
It's a completely different market. And that just because, the boxing fans, I think if you would go to any boxing fan and say, all right, we're going to put you in the nosebleeds, but are you ready to pay $3,000 for that? That's like high-priced floor seats next to the ring, $3,000.
Oh,
it's ridiculous. No boxing fan is going to pay that kind of money.
So my wife, obviously my wife's born and raised in Mexico. She loves the Sphere. She got to go to the card last time. She loved it. She said it was great. She's like, I really want to go to this one. She's like, do you think that even if you can't buy 2 tickets because Eli's, he's still young, maybe his, attention span isn't as great. I think maybe they came no, I think she just went with friends last time. She didn't even bring Eli.
Yeah, she went with friends last time.
Yeah, she went with friends last time. So she was like, do you think maybe even if you could just buy me a ticket, not me and Eli, just me a ticket, will you do that? And I'm like, yeah, of course. And then I saw the ticket prices. I was like, well, I'll get you the pay-per-view so you can check it out. I'm like, sorry about it. But you know what's crazy is
she's got to understand that.
She got it. She 100% got it.
As unique as it is, and as much as we joked about the fact that there could be people that are buying just because they want the experience of being there, the one-off show, that we didn't think they even needed to announce a headliner. And even when you think about it, she wanted to go to that show before she even knew.
100%.
So they're not the only.
And they're going to.
We weren't that far off.
They're going to sell out at $3,000 and $5,000.
Did you already see how many that are already it's almost already sold out?
Of course. And I saw a lot of people that were like, "This is ridiculous." Look. To be honest with you, this show is not for you. This show is for the elite of the elite.
Yeah,
this is
for those that have the money that are willing to travel. This is the one event that they're like, I haven't ever went to a UFC event. I'm going to go to a UFC event. Or they've been saving up. They're like, I haven't been to a UFC event in 4 or 5 years. Let's just do it.
Yep.
Let's make a whole big fucking thing about it. We're going to save some money. We're going to go get a hotel in Vegas. We're going to go to the Sphere. Then we're going to blow out the weekend.
Yep.
That's these people.
And there's going to be some high-dollar, rich-ass people walking away from this event going, man, the UFC is amazing. We need to do more business with them. Why aren't we sponsoring them? Why aren't we in business with them? You know what I mean? Why aren't we doing business with these guys? We need to be a part of that.
So did you see the layout?
Yeah, where there's actually a walkout behind it.
The walkout behind it, but there's also seats. So think about that. I thought that has to either be Dana or media.
Yeah.
You can't. There's no screen.
Are you going to pay $3,000 to have your back to the screen?
To have your back to the screen. I thought about that. I was like, okay, I see that there's people there. I was like, that's either Dana's people or that's media.
What we're going to do is we're going to hand you an iPad that will show you what's on the screen behind you.
Just give you mirrors.
So you can
just give you mirrors. There's just going to be mirrors that they could fake.
It's like a wide angle mirror, like a fisheye lens. So you can
just and it's backwards.
Look. The fight is here, but imagine this in your hand is also there.
And then it's just backwards. They're like, oh, look at that right. Like, no, dog, that was a left. I'm like, what are you doing? That walkout is huge.
Right?
It's very, very long. Not that the Sphere is a giant building, but literally it's coming from one extreme all the way to the other. And there's a big section of that where I don't think there's any fans because eventually they'll be wrapped off by the stanchions or the barriers or whatever. But I was just remember thinking man, that is a huge walk. Maybe they'll have cranes or something because there's going to be a lot of empty space over there on those sides. But I did remember seeing those seats behind, and I was like, oh my Lord, who are they going to put there with no access to the screen? I'm like, oh yeah, that's media. That's media or that's commission. Commission, you want to be there? Okay, yep, you're back there.
It's so funny because obviously the UFC was over in Europe, and I was thinking about buying a ticket, and I was like, who can I ask that I know from the UFC where the best place to buy a ticket would be? And then I saw a ticket price. So I was like, well, don't have to ask that anymore. You know what I mean? But it's going to sell out. It's like I said, it's almost done.
It's probably already done at this point. I guarantee the next time we see Dana, he's going to say it's sold out in the first week, the first few days.
It's interesting,
because there was a pre-sale.
Yeah.
Then the general sale, I think, is when we saw somebody put a tweet out. I can't remember the reporter that put it out. It literally looked like there was less than 100 seats left.
Crazy.
And that was a day or two ago.
It's amazing. I'm sure they had a few tickets pulled to hold. I'm sure they have some held for the public on sale because I don't think you'd want to go public on sale and have zero tickets available.
Because according to the map, because when they were showing the pricing, they had 100 level, 200, 300, and I saw some people saying Well, where's the 400? But when you look at the map, it looked like they combined the 300 and the 400 into what they're calling the 300 level. So maybe there's a 300 upper or something like that. But when I looked at the map, I think Damon Martin shared one of the pictures too of it, and that was what I'm referencing off my head. It looked like they combined the 300 and 400. So rather than having another tier of pricing, I think they combined it so that now there's only like 6 levels or 7 or 8. There's still quite a few levels. Maybe it was like 8. Maybe they're just like, okay, guys, this is getting overkill. We don't want to have to lower it and put a $2,000 range for heaven's sake.
We don't want those. We don't want those kind of people coming in
here.
here.
I mean, like they probably have flip flops on and holes in their jeans. I mean, like how dare they?
It's gonna be interesting to see. I'm pumped up. And look,
it should be a heck of a show.
It's I see a lot of people. I saw some tweet. I didn't even know who it was, to be honest with you. I was just kind of scrolling, but it was like, well, there ends my streak of going to like every Vegas UFC pay-per-view event ever. Like, I can't afford this, and I get it, man.
Now starts your streak of streaming them online. It all starts with one. But before we move, we were right about Valentina.
Yeah. We knew she would take it.
Yeah, we knew she would take it. So I was glad to see that. Going back to Segura before, he did say he was like, I would have been happy if it was Alexa and Valentina on the top, just to have a Mexican on the top. But I'm like, dude, Sean O'Malley, Merab, this is a fight we've been wanting to see. Like, there's real heat.
Yeah.
Like, that fight's gangbusters. And I guarantee Alexa and Valentina are like, we're cool.
Yeah.
Because eyeballs that that's going to put, because they want dollars.
Remember when they had the on sale, or not the on sale, but just the reveal?
Yeah.
We talked to Alexa, and it was like, that was at the time we were like, is there any way Connor and stuff?
Yep.
And we asked her, and right away she was like, oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, more eyeballs. Like, let's do it. Like, she didn't even hesitate, And
she's smart.
Yeah.
She gets it. I mean, like, I can see where there maybe somebody would be like, no, it has to be me atop the bill.
Yeah.
I want to see my name on the top of the poster. But wouldn't you want to see another zero in the bank, like on the end of that paycheck from all the extra money?
I respect Danny for trying to, like, protect the Latino culture or whatever and all that.
He's Cuban. What does he care?
He's Colombian.
Same difference.
But it is funny. Like,
it's from a funny island that starts with C.
Like, it's like they never even did the Noche UFC until last year. And so now this year we're going to say, well, they're doing it wrong. This is not how you respect the legacy of Noche UFC. Like, well, it's the second one.
Yeah. And that's why people say, well, it's still UFC 306 as well. How about that? Just call it UFC 306 if you're upset that it's UFC Noche.
Hold on. Did you see that it's also presented by Bud Light?
Riyadh Season UFC Noche presented by Bud Light?
Yes.
That is ridiculous.
I want to make sure. Yeah,
Dana's going to make it so he doesn't have to pay for anything. He's going to say this is the most expensive event that they never paid for themselves.
It is. I'm looking at the press release. It is Riyadh Season Noche UFC O'Malley versus Dvalishvili presented by Bud Light.
Wow.
And then, I mean, you got two.
That just rolls off the tongue. Say that 3 times fast.
Like, hey man, what's your plans for 306 this weekend?
What's that?
306. 306. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, Riyadh Season Noche UFC O'Malley versus Dvalishvili presented by Bud Light.
Oh, that one. Yeah,
I'll be watching that.
I might splurge and pay for those tickets.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I saw that. I had to laugh at that. That was on the.
I didn't
that was
see
on
that.
the press release.
Wow.
All right, the UFC is in Abu Dhabi this week. Normally we would be talking about media day, but they changed the schedule a little bit, so it was just open workouts today. I did see some of the clips. Corey Sandhagen's out there doing like WWE moves and having fun out there.
Yeah.
But him with Trevor Whitman is kind of scary combination, man. Those are two like high-level intellectual minds, and I'm sure they jive together. So seeing those guys work together is gonna be great. But look, man, this card, if it's sneaking up on you, I understand. We've had some pay-per-views. We've had some other headlines going on. We lost Nick Diaz due to travel issues, which is still perhaps the funniest announcement the UFC has ever made because I think we all know what the travel issues were. Like Nick Fanda can't travel with weed. And then the other thing I was thinking, I was like, maybe the only thing that couldn't be, and let's just be honest, that has to be it. Like, you remember when we went over there before, like they gave us like this huge long list of stuff you can't bring, but weed is definitely one of them. So that has to be that.
Like, I think that's at the top of the list.
That's at the top. So you can't add that. So that was definitely part of it. But I was thinking, if it's not that, what if it was something as dumb as just like, what? Nick doesn't have a passport? Like, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, he can't find it. I mean, he legally has one, but he can't find it. We got to get our paperwork done. Like, we don't have the what? Huh?
I heard sometimes when fighters get weird about dietary options. Like some fighters are like, there's not going to be any food that I want to eat. You know, I don't know if that would make me pull out of a huge fight where I haven't fought in years and I want to get a paycheck. But it is different fighting over there as opposed to fighting here. I mean, like who knows what these guys?
Yeah.
If they're so strict in the regime, they're always looking like they're in shape. So maybe he's like chicken and rice, but it's a particular chicken and rice, and now I can't get that chicken and rice over there, so I'm not gonna go.
It's only NorCal chicken.
I can't bring my weed, and I can't get my NorCal chicken.
Can I bring my Stockton chickens over there? Like I can't bring my Stockton poultry.
Sir, you cannot bring your own poultry.
Can't import poultry.
You can't import
what if
poultry.
I bring him live and we kill him live?
Well, maybe.
So that's got it. So that was a disappointment. So I understand probably, again, with all the other stuff that's going on, this fear discussion, the Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler discussion, the Bilal Muhammad and his big upset. That's with everything that's going on, you might have let this one slide. But look, man, Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov, a big fight at 135 pounds. Real title implications, a very, very deep division, but real title implications there. Sharon Magomedov and Mihail Oleksiejczuk in the co-main event should just be nuts. Like
should be a banger.
I mean, those two guys just go out there and throw down. Cheeto and Davison Figueiredo, man, I love that fight from the minute it was announced.
100%.
That's a great test right there.
That's amazing. I mean, that's going to be – I mean, I think right now, for the most part in our staff, everybody is like – Davidson's the new second coming at this weight class. I mean,
it
like
appears to be,
and they're just everybody. Not many of us picked Cheeto, and I picked Cheeto because I was tired of everybody picking Davison, and I'm like, dude, don't count him out. This is the kind of fight that if everybody's gonna be leaning on Davison, thinking like he's the next biggest thing, Cheeto's gonna go and be like, no, not past me.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm went on Cheeto, but I mean, there are a lot of eyeballs on that, and I'm happy for Davison because everybody's literally saying like it's a brand new career,
which is cool,
which is great. It's good for him, great for him, and it's good for the division. I mean, he injected a lot of things, but man, that fight, that easily, in my eyes, that could have been the co-main if it wasn't for the fact that they're trying to. It's Shara over there. I mean, like they want them to do well over there, but that could have been easily.
100%.
Should have been the co-main event.
Should have been the co-main event. Absolutely. Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa pains me, right? Because I love Michael Chiesa and I love Tony Ferguson, and we know where Tony is at this point in his career. And I don't. It sucks, right? Because I know that Michael Chiesa is kind of on that tail end of his career too, right? Where he's like Michael Chiesa. He has his commentary career. He has other interests outside of competing. He's coaching. He's working with others, like. But he still wants to make that title run. But knowing Chiesa the way we do, I don't think he's one of those guys that'll stick around just to take fights. There's those guys that are like, if I'm not on an upward trajectory, if I'm not on a championship trajectory, I'm not interested in being out here and doing this. I have other things in life. And I think that's where Michael Chiesa's out. So a loss to Tony Ferguson could be incredibly detrimental to him in terms of
4 in a row.
Right?
And he hasn't fought it's been over a year. It'll be roughly just about a year since the last time he fought, and that was a quick loss against Kevin Holland. That could be it.
And I don't want to see that for Michael Chiesa. I want to see him get those big paychecks. I know how much he loves to compete. But in order to do that, he has to go out there and beat Tony Ferguson, who I also don't want to lose.
Nobody wants to see that.
I love Tony Ferguson, man, and I want to see him go out and compete and be competitive. But it's like if Tony Ferguson was facing somebody that I didn't feel like, I mean, I'm just, it literally, I can't.
This could be 8 in a row.
I'm looking for a draw. I'm looking for a draw.
And where Tony doesn't get cut up, like he's been bleeding. Like I hate seeing him get bloodied up and just battered, man. He's always fun. You never know what Tony's going to walk into the room for media day and for post-fight, whether he's going to stand up and do his interview, whether he's going to turn around the chair. I think the turn around the chair is almost 100%. Yeah, we're going to get the what's up fuck. Is he going to bring a baseball?
Where's Chatman Can't Do's ass at?
He's given us so many gems over these years that it is just a lot of fun. But, yeah, I mean, it's at the point where, I mean, like, we talk about this, over and over as much as you try to stay, not biased, and you try to stay separate from the fighters, and you try to keep the emotions away from with the job. But it's like it's hard not to like these guys, and it's hard not to want them not to take damage and get hurt. And, this is one of those fights. Chiesa is a giant in that division. And, I mean, not that Tony's small, but I mean, like, man, I just don't. Bro. I don't want to see either guy get really wailed on. I mean, but I want him to keep getting paid. I want him to do stuff like that. But Tony, man, if he loses again, it's got to be the point where at some point the UFC has to save him from himself. And I hate to see him be sort of forced out when he's still active and he's young. But at this point, it's like, dude, help him transition to another role. Like maybe Forrest needs a backup slap catcher guy or something. But like they almost need to save him from himself because he's too tough. But it's like at 8 in a row, the UFC needs to push him into a different role. I don't want to say push him out, force him to retire, but nobody wants to see it because it's painful. It's hard to watch.
I've always felt like they've given him a longer leash because they know
he's earned it.
He's earned it.
He's earned it. I mean, just like with John Jones, they're giving him Jones extra time because of what he's done. Like Tony built up a lot of credit into his name over what he's done and what he was sitting back and waiting for fights and waiting for this and doing everything. Like they're giving him every opportunity, but that's been done.
I feel like when that fight's over, I'm gonna have to just like press pause and like go outside for a little bit and just
before you hear the
take a couple deep breaths. No, I mean just want you know what I mean. Like I'll just have to process it, like process what it means. Yeah. I'm just gonna have to. It's gonna be emotional.
It's one of those. Yeah, I was gonna say because a lot of those times you know they're going out there for our entertainment and they're going out there and they want to get that rush of the crowd and get that victory. But yeah, I mean like watching those kind of fights is not as fun as the other ones, and it's just hard. Because at some point in the game, we all got invested in their careers and in their lives and like wanting them to do well. And it's hard to watch it. You almost feel jealous for the casuals that have maybe never seen them fight before because they don't have the attachment. I think every diehard fan, especially everybody that's listening to this, has some sort of attachment to probably Tony and Chiesa to some extreme, but not to anywhere near like Tony. Like Tony's a very beloved fighter. And I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody that's like, oh, yeah, I want to see that guy get his ass whipped. Yeah. Like, I don't think they exist.
Nobody.
You know, like, those people don't exist anymore. Maybe back in the day, like, some of Khabib's fans, Russian fans, were hating on Tony. But I guarantee they even quietly on the download love Tony.
Oh, yeah, how do you not?
But, yeah, those are painful ones. So, I don't know. I want him to be able, and be great if he got the win. But if he gets the win, you know he's like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I want there to be some path for him to transition into another role where he's happy. Because he can't take too many more.
I can't either. Hey, this just hit my inbox. I don't want to get. Let me just burn through this real quick because I think the card, Mackenzie Dern versus Lee Godinez should be fun. Joel Alvarez versus Elvis Brenner could actually be absolute fireworks. This one, I forgot this was even on here. This could be just insane. Azamat Mirzakhanov and Alonzo Minifield, like somebody's going to sleep in that one for sure. So some really good fights in this. This just hit my inbox literally as we're recording this. USC issues statement regarding Lee and Johnson antitrust settlement ruling. This came from UFC Corporate Communications. We obviously disagree with this ruling and believe it disregards the expertise of counsel from both sides as well as that of an accomplished and expert mediator, all of whom have decades of experience in antitrust case law. It prevents the athletes from receiving what they have argued is in their best interest and unwinds an extensively negotiated settlement that, in the plaintiff's counsel's own words, quote, would far surpass the typical antitrust class action settlement, end quote, and, quote, is an excellent result for the settlement classes by all traditional measures, end quote. Additionally, by taking the unusual step of denying the settlement at the preliminary approval stage, the judge is also denying the athletes their right to be heard during this pivotal moment in the case. As we have said throughout the process, we believe strongly in the merits of our cases and are evaluating all of our options, including, without limitation, an appeal, which could make this thing even further, and have initiated discussions with plaintiffs' counsel who expressed a willingness to engage in separate settlement discussions for the Lee and Johnson cases. End of statement. Interesting. I mean, they're basically saying like, I mean, you're saying that this needs to go. You're really screwing everybody. That we're just, hey man, we just got money in our hands that we're trying to hand it out. I mean, what are you doing? Hey, you know what? Maybe we'll just appeal the whole thing. How about that?
It is.
How about we just start all over?
It is interesting now. You're starting to definitely see more of that motion to pull them apart, the two suits. Mm-hmm. I don't know who that benefits. I don't know if people were upset when they joined them. I feel like there was some pushback when they initially combined them.
There was.
You know, and I'm not sure if that came more from the plaintiff side or if that came from the UFC, just whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's
I think
weird
it was more from the Kung Lee class that felt the Cajun Johnson class was like, bro.
Riding their coattails?
Yeah, like, what are you doing? Yeah. And I think they were worried twofold. Number one, like, A, what are you doing? We've been fighting this fight. Where were you? And B, don't screw up our chances. Yeah, don't screw up our opportunities by you jumping in on here too. So so we'll see. It is.
That's interesting.
Like I said, it's not the sexiest story to talk about. It's a lot of legal jargon. And again, I'm not convinced. I feel like a lot of people feel like when this case is done, the entire landscape of the U.S. it's going to change in mixed martial arts. I just don't think that's the case. I mean, again,
well, certainly not after what we saw what the agreement was, though.
Right.
Like we saw that and we're like, okay, there's no real broad sweeping change.
Right.
So maybe there is a glimmer that something can happen, but I'm not too hopeful. But it's interesting that the UFC coming out like, because to me, if they're coming out and saying that, it makes you think like they do stand to lose more. Mm-hmm. But if the prosecutors and the people that are familiar are saying like, hey, we still can go back and agree to do what we've already agreed upon, or we're willing to do this, to keep talking, gives me the thought that they understand too that going to a trial isn't really going to change things.
Beneficial.
It's
so interesting, right? Because like I think about it, like put it in your terms, right? Like if every single event, like the idea that you can become a free agent more frequently and you can switch back and forth, it is beneficial, right? Like I think about it from a pure like. These are contractors, right?
Yeah.
Think about your position as a contractor. If every time there was a UFC event here in Vegas, you could go to MMA Junkie and you could go to MMA Fighting, and you're like, guys, I'm free this weekend. You need a shooter this weekend? You do? What are you willing to pay? What are you willing to pay?
Yep.
Boom. All right, now you go up, right? But you're not going to be able to go back and forth each week. It'd be more like, okay, well, I'll shoot for Junkie for 3 years, and I can switch back over here for 2 years and whatever, that sort of thing. So, I mean, it is beneficial in individual cases that I think people are going to be able to negotiate better wages for themselves. But, like, these escalated salaries that are going to be available, let's say a PFL or Bellator has to outbid the UFC for somebody's services, cool. Then can they turn around and make that investment profitable? I don't know that they can. You know what I mean? It's like the UFC is the only one that can support these multi-million-dollar salaries and that sort of thing without bankrupting the organization. And so, like, that's the part of this. I understand why you would want free bidding on your services, but I don't think it's going to be the monumental shift in the landscape that maybe a lot of people feel that it will be. I think it's going to be good opportunities for people to at least explore the waters a little more frequently and a little easier. But I don't think it becomes like the massive market shift. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not.
But also, too, that verbiage came out when there were a lot more parties out there, too. Like when people were starting to talk about there were options.
Yeah.
Now, maybe this comes to light where now the talk of monopoly starts to come back out because there aren't those options. I know at one point, they want to have the freedom to talk with these other things. Now there's like one, if that. So then it starts getting to the point where maybe going back and say if it did go to court, maybe then they could say, well, if you look at the market right now, there is no other option. Maybe there is some more of a monopoly. Maybe the UFC doesn't want that to go back in there because now the players involved are a lot different. When I say that, because when people put the verbiage like, hey, I want to have the potential to be able to shop around and do blah, 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 there were options. Mm-hmm. Now, is that as important when there's no other options?
Because there's no way, like Bellator's only doing 8 shows a year. They're not adding anybody.
And people say that's just
going away. That's a placeholder.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, it's a placeholder.
Anymore.
So you really can't. So now you're looking at PFL. PFL's great, but the way their system is set up, they're not adding free agents all the time.
Yeah.
They're adding free agents once a year, which that'll be interesting. Like athletes will probably want their contracts to expire right around the time
before like seasons and everything
right?
starts.
Because PFL's not going to add you as a high dollar
not in the middle of a season
unless you're willing to sit around and wait for the next season. Then they've done that where they've given a guy a showcase fight or whatever. But that's risky,
true.
Right? Take a showcase fight and then either A, they put you up against somebody they think is so bad that you're going to destroy.
Because it's a showcase fight.
Because it's a showcase fight. But we all see that and go like, what are you doing here? And then if they put you in anything competitive and you lose, what's your value going into the season next year? And then they just signed you with all this money. So,
and even then, like we started to see people complaining about pay structure and stuff at the PFL. Like at one point, everything seemed like hunky dory, like millions. We're giving out millions, and then you start hearing fighters say, "Well, it's not quite that," Like so, even that PFL option isn't as this end-all be-all shiny light that it used to seem as well, So,
interesting times.
It's
heavy.
Interesting.
It's heavy. Like I said,
it's
not the sexiest story, and we're not the ones to give you the expert analysis. But just from being around the industry and seeing the repercussions and thinking about it, it's heavy times right now.
Yeah, I mean, luckily there's a lot smarter people out there in this space covering this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then also the parties involved, so hopefully the fighters make the right decisions because like you said, the money could really help people right now. And if it's a matter of some of them are like, please just make whatever agreement to make this go away and just be done. If they need it, I hope they're able to get what they need. But there's certainly a lot of people involved in this that don't need all that money right now. They can wait it out for better options, but will they? You know?
It's interesting.
But it's crazy. It's crazy to think it was all said and done, and then somebody steps in and is like, no, not quite yet.
Keep going.
Yeah, so.
Keep going. All right, listen. Should note, by the way, Abu Dhabi early start this week, which I love, man.
Yes.
9 a.m. start here Pacific time.
That's awesome.
I love
That's
it.
like
Wake
perfect
up,
time.
put the coffee on. First fighter's walking to the cage already, man. Like, I love daytime fights, man. I really, really do.
Poor people over in Manchester, like for that last one, like the media and the staff were just like right around that first fight. It was like midnight over there on the ground. So they're putting some of their last videos or stuff at like 8 a.m. Like that is
so hard.
Brutal.
I mean,
like you're still in the venue at that time. Like, oh my god.
And if you're flying home that day, you're just like, oh my god. Like it's 8 in the morning. Like I'm leaving at 1. I'm not even at the hotel yet. Like,
ugh,
that's the worst.
Yeah, but you want to be on site traveling, don't you?
we did it for 2 hours. You know what's funny too? We did it for. I mean, and it was funny because we didn't even really talk much about 304, but a lot of people were saying, hey man, the fights, the way they played out, the way they were, is because it was in the middle of the night. But UFC 204, 100 UFCs before, was the same time, and it was 9 finishes out of 11.
Yeah.
And one of the ones was Henderson and Bisping, which was an absolute barn burner. So.
I mean, to say that every fighter fought at their peak level at that particular time, who knows? We can't say for sure. I mean, I think a lot of people did their great job of actually timing their day out, but to say that it was a normal fight week.
It's not a normal fight week. It's not a normal fight, but it's not. We used to have some Brazil fights. That's where the main event was like 3 or 4 in the morning because we'd walk out of there and the sun would be rising. Yeah. So I know we did some 3 or 4 main events. All the stuff we did during Fight Island, that was all on some bizarre ass times because we were, you know what I mean? So like. It's not unheard. Like it just felt like you're 100% right. To discount it entirely as to say the sleep schedule had absolutely nothing to do with anybody's performance that night. Wrong.
Yeah, I think it'd be disingenuous to say that.
It really would. But to just be like, well, you can't ever do it that time of night because it's clearly impossible. Yeah. Like, well, it's clearly been done a lot of times before.
So like if Liam was like, I was just too tired to do anything. I just never got started because of the time would be no. Bilal just didn't let you get started.
That's it. It was an impressive performance for Bilal. That talked about it on the and a half version, but dude, like sitting there watching that fight and like 10 seconds in, he's already got a big takedown. I was like, oh my god!
I was like, Bilal's gonna do what Bilal does. I picked Leon, but I was like, if Bilal does what he does, that's what's gonna happen, and that's what it did.
And he's in Abu Dhabi right now. Didn't even come home to Chicago to celebrate, like straight on with the squad over in Abu Dhabi.
I'm sure they're treating him high on the floor. I'm sure he's living it up. I'm sure they were like, no, please come, have fun, and I guarantee he would do it. Who wouldn't have that little belt? He probably feels no pain at this point. He probably hasn't slept for days.
Probably not. He deserves it, man. He's a good dude. I feel bad for Leon, but obviously Bilal.
Yeah, Bilal earned it.
Worked his ass off.
He worked his butt off.
All right, so listen, early fights this weekend, Saturday. I will do an and a half episode for everybody over at patreon.com/MMA Roadshow. So we appreciate you as always for supporting us. Staycation's over. Podcast is over. Back to normal life. I have to get back to reality. Thanks for everything, Fountain Blue. I appreciate it.
Mr. Morgan, we'll see you again soon.
I appreciate it. You know what? Thanks for listening.